Greetings, comrades. We are discussing documentation. If you are joining us and you have a question, you can write in the comment section. We will try to respond to your question during this session. If we cannot, we will go through the questions and then respond later on. So please feel free to post your questions so that we can assist each other. The issue that we are discussing, of course, we've been discussing the Zimbabwe exemption permits, we've been discussing the waivers, and others are asking when is the deadline. We've been explaining this in our chat groups, we've been explaining this in this platform, but some people seem to be missing it. Some are saying they have challenges with their employers. We are saying you need to take Directive 4 of 2023 to your employer. Some are planning to travel over the festive season. They've got only the receipt as proof that they've applied for waivers. We said you are not restricted to travel. So we've tried to respond to all these questions, but of course, some people seem not to be getting these answers. We also said that the waivers that are coming out, which some of you have received, are written that your Zimbabwe exemption permit expires in June 2025, whereas the Directive 4 of 2023 says it expires end of this year. That is if you did not apply for a waiver. But if you have applied for a waiver, you have a receipt, you don't have to worry much because you are still legal in the country. We also spoke to you about the meeting that we had with the officials in the office of the minister. We have not yet received any response from the issues that we're raising with them, which will then answer some of these questions. Because one issue that we raised was that the minister and the department should consider extending the ZEP. But the issue that we also want to raise is the issue of asylum documents. Because we note that there are people that are arrested while they are actually going to apply for an asylum document. If a migrant is in the process for applying for an asylum document, they should not be arrested. That's what the law says. So if you are in the process of applying for an asylum document, you should not be arrested. So when the police stop a taxi or your vehicle, you are on your way to apply for an asylum document, you need to indicate to them that you are actually going to apply for an asylum document. They should not arrest you. Because what we are now realizing is that there are people who get arrested. Either they are outside the refugee center, either they are on their way to the refugee center. They get arrested, they are taken to police cells, appear in court. When you appear in court, maybe you do not even have money for a lawyer. You are then told to get a state attorney or a state lawyer because every person has a right to legal representation. Once you you get a state lawyer, you are told that your lawyer then advises you that you should plead guilty. Pleading guilty, that saying that you are saying you are in the country illegal, right? Because someone will then have stayed for 2 weeks or a month in the detention center, and then the person pleads guilty. Now, once you plead guilty, either you are going to be given a fine and be deported, because you can't tell the magistrate that you are guilty of an offense, the offense that is being illegal in South Africa, then they cannot release you again in South Africa. They will have now to have to deport you. So when you plead guilty, either they ask you to pay a fine or sentence you, maybe say to 3 months imprisonment. So if you pay a fine, after paying your fine, they will deport you. Or if you serve your sentence, say they say 3 months in prison, you serve your sentence. After serving your sentence, they then again deport you. Because remember, the issue was, which actually went to court, was that police will arrest a person, send them straight to Lindela for deportation. And a number of organizations noted that the people that are in the process of applying for asylum documents, they are being deported, putting their lives in danger because you are running away from conflict in your country of origin, because your life is in danger. While you are in the process of applying for an asylum, you get deported, right? And you are handed over to the people that you are running away from. So this is why that when you are in the process of applying for an asylum document, when you get arrested, you must inform the arresting officer that you are in the process of applying for an asylum document. You are actually going there to apply for asylum document. But if the police officer or the immigration officer insists in taking you in your first court appearance, you must inform the magistrate that you are in the process of applying for an asylum document. You were actually arrested when you are going to apply for an asylum document. They are meant to deport you. Once you have applied for an asylum document, your application has been turned down, right? Because if you go to, if you're in Gauteng, you go to Desmond Refugee Center, you apply for an asylum document, it gets issued to you. They do their own investigations through their country representative. Because remember, last time we said that if you are applying for an asylum document, you need to write a report on why you need an asylum document. Because you cannot just show up at the refugee center and they say, I need an asylum document. You need to write a report why you need an asylum document. The team in the refugee center is going to sit down, go through your story. In some cases, they will then send your report to your country of origin, to their embassy, to the South African embassy, right? For them to verify if the issues that you are raising are correct. For instance, what we noticed during elections is that if, say, you were an election monitor, right? Maybe you were working as a civil servant, you were deployed to monitor elections, you then your life was in danger. You then write in the report. So what they check is, say, if you are from Zimbabwe, the elections were in 2023, right? But you say you were an observer in some polling station, say in Kutu, for example, right? But your story does not tally with the date of the election. So naturally you are going to be disqualified. Because you can't say, I was observing elections in January 2023 when the elections were somewhere in July. So it does not tally. So these are the things that they are checking, right? So after they have done their investigation, which normally will take them a year or two, they then come back to you and say, no, your claim for an asylum is dismissed. But again, you are also given a right to appeal. So once you have exhausted all these processes, it is then that you can deport it. But in the case of someone who's not applying for an asylum, you then get arrested. You are not even applying for an asylum, you get arrested. You go to court. Our advice is that you then have to get a lawyer. You plead that yes, I'm in the country illegally, you are not applying for an asylum, you are in the country illegally, you get deported as soon as possible, because you will then be asked to say either a fine. The lawyer will have to ask the courts to grant you a fine. Once you have been granted a fine, you get deported. And then there are those, because again, the deportation, what we used to do is to assist the people to do what is called self-deportation. I remember we're assisting some migrants from Tanzania. They were held at Lindela Repatriation Center, because deportation itself takes time, right? And the conditions at Lindela might not be favorable. They are not favorable to anyone. It is not good to be held up, whether in the police cells, Lindela, or in Sun City Prison. So your family does what is called self-deportation. So your family will buy you a ticket. In the case of these Tanzanians, they to buy an air ticket. So they were to monitor them being taken from Lindela Repatriation Center to OR International, because the tickets, their consulate got involved, so that they would be easily deported without spending time. So it's important that this happens. In the case of Zimbabweans, Mozambicans, and Eswatini, because we share the border with South Africa, including Lesotho, you simply buy a bus ticket. So if your relative is in Lindela, they are not applying for asylum, but they are now held in Lindela for deportation. You purchase, there's an office in Lindela where you purchase a ticket, so that you do a self-deportation. So it's important that that gets done. We also have a number of migrants that are in prison. We get calls because some prisoners, they do have access to this YouTube channel. So what they are telling us, those that are in prison, is that when they are released, or because if someone is arrested for a criminal activity, they are sentenced to 5 years, they serve their 5 years, or whatever the case might be. Upon release, they have to be deported because they are foreigners. So they are saying, you, your family members, you are not assisting them with the clothing, with the money, and so forth, which makes it difficult. So they always appeal to us to say, we should talk to you, that if you know that you have a relative that is in prison and they are about to be released from prison, make sure that you visit them in prison and ensure that they have proper clothing, so that when they leave prison, they are able to travel, they will have change of clothes. If you don't do that, then it will be something else. Comrade is saying, are you talking in your capacity as an immigration lawyer or just as a citizen? That's Comrade Michael Jackson. I'm the secretary of the African Diaspora Forum, Comrade Michael Jackson. We work with 34 migrant communities. So that's my daily work. My daily work is to work with the migrant communities. So this is what we come across on daily basis. So like I was saying, that if you have a relative that is in prison, please do visit them. And of course, as I conclude, it is on every migrant has a right. So if you enter South Africa, if you're on South African soil, you have rights, right? Like any other person. You are not discriminated again. You are not discriminated. So that means if you are arrested, you must have access to a lawyer. It's very important. Some people I know, when you get arrested, no, maybe my rights have been taken away from me. No, you have rights. You must have access to a lawyer. Your lawyer must make presentation. Last week we were dealing with another case where this lady gets arrested in Diepsloot, was in the process of applying for an asylum document, as I was saying. Then he gets a lawyer who doesn't understand these issues, and then the lawyer advises the person to plead guilty. That means this person now cannot apply for an asylum, right? So it's important that if you get arrested, get an immigration lawyer who understands these things, or contact, of course, the lawyers for human rights. They do assist in Braamfontein, but the challenge that they have is that they are running short of funding. They are struggling to have an attorney that will on daily basis attend to people that are arrested. But if you have some legal issues that you want them to assist you, you can make an appointment with them. You can simply visit their offices. Braamfontein, 8070 court, that's 4th floor, just after KFC. If you know Braamfontein, they will not charge you. But like I'm saying, there are issues of funding and so forth, but try to contact them. They will also give you sound legal advice, so that you do not find yourself in a difficult position. Thank you so much for joining. I know all of you here, you are Liverpool supporters. You are now waiting for Liverpool. Let's meet in the evening. Goodbye.